Have you ever taken on a big project only to realize you may have gotten in a little bit over your head? Well, that's sort of what happened to me last year when I bought a 2017 Chevy Corvette that had been submerged in water all the way up to the windows in a flood. And man, did it have its share of problems. Oh, geez. Oh, that is really bad. There's a piece of that's the valve. Yeah, there's rust on the walls. She's seized.
This is a nice big crack in the floor. Uh-oh. What the hell is this? What those bastards took the ECU. The module that's missing here, missing another module. There's another module that's missing. Son of a bitch! Suspension control module, not there.
I came to the conclusion that I just don't have the resources here at the house to give this Corvette the attention that it needs. However, I still wanted to have a project that I could work on with my pop and share with you guys. Something that runs and drives, but still needs a good bit of work. And what I got for the Corvette was just enough for a car that I had seen on the side of the road all summer long, every day when I would pass it going to the gym. It worked out to basically be an exact trade for the Corvette. The difference is it runs and drives, but as you guys are gonna see, this thing definitely has its fair share of problems and it's gonna need work. Check out the new wheels I got to work on here at the shop with you guys. After months of excruciating searching, looking through plenty of rust buckets and cars with just a ridiculous amount of problems, it has finally happened. I have a replacement for the C7 flood damaged Corvette. I think it deserves it. I think this is a good replacement. We've got a 1967 Mustang. Now, unlike so many other car videos where they make you wait until the very end of the video to hear the damn thing run, we're just gonna get that out of the way right away and fire this bad boy up because I wanna hear some pure horsepower. Man, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, I don't know what will. Now, I've got a lot of faith in this car, so much so that we're gonna let it idle while we do the walk around and talk about it because it just sounds so good. If you love the sound of a thumping camshaft, then totally me that thumbs up button in the comment section below. I have absolutely been loving just listening to this thing at every single red light and stop sign that I can get to. Just hearing that idle sounds so good. We're just gonna make sure to keep an eye on our temperature gauge in there. You can see it's getting up to about 180 right now. I just brought this car home a couple days ago. I don't know that it really has like any problems or anything. It definitely has some I've already found. We'll go over those in a second. But I think we'll be okay letting it idle. And if it blows up, well, I guess then it blows up. We'll come around front here so you guys can hear that engine is nice and quiet. It sounds really healthy. It feels really healthy when I'm driving it. We're gonna open the hood in just a second here, but I wanted you guys to see the paint. At first glance, it is absolutely beautiful and really appears to be flawless, but there's quite a bit that this car needs. The bodywork, though, is pretty much, I would say, like 95%. There's little stuff here. I don't know if you can see where it chipped away and it was repainted. And there's some other little stuff too, but for the most part, it's absolutely beautiful. There's no rust or rot really anywhere on the car. It's just beautiful, man. We've got these Craigers on here. I don't think these are real Craigers. They may be, but they're a weird size. The 16s don't look too crazy where it's like, oh man, you're really taking it away from original, but it does give it like a little bit more of an updated look. It has a really nice stance. If you come to the back here, this is all nice and clean. It is missing some trim, as you guys may see, like in the back here along the deck lid. It's supposed to say Mustang. There's some chrome trim missing, really all over the car. It's just not quite complete the closer that you look at it. And if you're a Mustang guy or you know how these cars are supposed to be, you know, there's a big piece of chrome trim that's sometimes along the bottom of the rocker, and then you have the Mustang logo that goes on this front quarter panel. Just stuff like that that is missing on the car, and that's okay. We're gonna finish all that stuff up. All right, let's pop her open, give you guys a look at the interior. It's pretty nice in here. Kind of the same as the outside, like at first glance. It looks really nice. But there's a bunch of stuff that it needs. Let's have a look. Oh, we're getting kind of hot there. That's what, 210 degrees. Let's let her cool off. We don't want any accidents happening. I believe this was a factory AC car. In fact, let's pop the hood. I'll show you guys. There's a little badge on these, and it tells you some of the original equipment that came on this. Oh, what do we have in here? I'm sure a lot of you guys know right off the bat. We're not working with an original engine here. But there's a story behind that. Here's the tag right here. It looks like it was cut off and then they screwed it to the car. I don't know how that is typically attached to the car, but it was originally a lime metallic. I'll put a car up on the screen to show you that color. Kind of a weird color, definitely very like 60s and 70s. And Acon, that means it had air conditioning, and it was a power steering car right from the factory, which is ironic because it doesn't have power steering on it right now. And this thing is an absolute bear to turn. We'll take it for a test drive in a moment here, but it does not have power steering, I can tell you that much. So this engine is out of a 93 Mustang. It's nothing too crazy. You can hear it's got a cam in it, and it's got some other goodies in it too. We will be making some changes to that. If you take a close look in here, you'll start to notice things that it needs. If you look at the wires down there, all those wires, they're kind of sloppy, man. If you guys follow my content, you know I like to make my stuff really nice and clean, but this is really a perfect canvas for me. I like to take things that are good and then we'll make it great. You know, we'll finish this thing up and really polish it off. This is interesting. This bag here, that's for the windshield washer fluid. I don't know if that's I don't think that's factory. I don't know if they did that so that they could fix this, put this little coil here, because I think there's usually like a hard plastic one here. And you can see the finish in here. I don't think they refinished any of that stuff. They did the body panels, obviously, but I think this might be maybe original in here. I'm not sure. I see a dual reservoir master cylinder for the brakes, which is really good. And then we've got this intake from the 5.0 Mustang, which I really don't like. It makes it look totally not original. Comes over here and then goes into the fender. And this is one of the problems that we're going to have to address pretty soon because that filter is right above this tire. And if we get any rain at all, it's going to sling that water right onto that filter. And I think we're going to have problems. Come around to the passenger side and you can see, oh, we're locked. But you can see this, that's an issue, right? Just little stuff like that really kind of makes it look like crap. So all that stuff I want to fix, but that's, like I said, that's all things that we can do. One of the really nice mods on this though, if you'll notice, this is where the roll-up windows used to go. There's a hole there. There's actually a little panel right here, and it's got all 4 windows. So in the back, these little triangle windows that are tinted, those can go up and down as well, and they usually have rollers. So they put the switch here, which is super convenient because you can put all the windows down just from that one switch. You don't have to reach around. In the back, there are switches. So if you have passengers back here, they can open those up on their own. And in the front, I don't know if he just didn't put them up here or, I'm not really sure, but it definitely, we have to address that. If we have to put an emblem there or some kind of plug, something to try to make that look somewhat original. Little stuff like that is really what we're going to be doing with this car, amongst, other stuff too. But for the most part, like I said, this is just a really good platform to start with. I believe this was the factory air conditioning vent, and it does have, I think it's an aftermarket air conditioning system in it now, and that needs work too. It's something's not right with it. I was trying to get it to work, and it's when you turn it on, it's off, and if you turn it off, it's on. I'm not really sure what the hell's going on there, but we'll fix it. We've got this old stereo in here, and this thing is so old, man. It's honestly hilarious. A lot of the restoration work was done. I think it started in 2004, and a lot of this stuff in here was restored for that era, and it became very apparent as I was looking over this car. You can see I've got a USB cord hooked up to this head unit, and I thought that I'd be able to hook this up to my phone and listen to my music as I'm driving. That's one of the things I'd love to do with this car. At a closer glance, you can see there's some aftermarket panels in here that allowed for an upgraded stereo system, and I'd really like to use that. However, this JVC head unit does not have connectivity to modern phones. I looked it up on Crutchfield, which is like the Amazon of audio equipment and stereo stuff, and I was looking at the top review, and it's so funny. They're talking about how the USB feature is so nice, but it's annoying when you have a USB stick hanging out of the receiver. But they're saying it's so convenient to have that though, and USB is the way of the future. And I was like, dude, what? And I looked at the date on the review, and it was 2006. So this JVC head unit is totally outdated. I've actually already got a new Kenwood that's already in the mail because I want to get my Bluetooth hooked up ASAP, because cruising in this car, getting some Jimi Hendrix on the radio, man, that's where it's at. Now we'll actually hop in the back seat so I can give you guys a more of a wide angle. It's really cool how these seats go forward. The one side has this sort of like a bent angle, and it makes the seat tilt forward and inward. It makes it a little bit easier to get in the back. It's really not that bad back here. You know, I don't know that I'd want to be riding back here. I'll pull the seat back, and it just barely rubs on my knees. I'm about 5'10", but I've got plenty of headroom back here, which is really nice. So if you wanted to go cruise down to the beach or something and, you know, have a couple girls in the back or something, this is the absolute perfect car. And really one of the main reasons why I chose this one. Now I sat back here so that I could give you guys a more wide angle of the interior. You can see how pretty this is, man. I love the instrument cluster on this. We've got the odometer gauges all the way across. The only thing is, you can see this one on the left actually has a crack in it. So I'm hoping that that's something I can repair, or I might have to replace that gauge. It's kind of glaring though in my face. And then over here, the water temperature gauge is slightly just crooked. We're gonna fix that. And then we've got the Hurst shifter right in the middle, man. How iconic is that? And I've already ordered the white shift ball that says Hurst on the side because I love those shifters. And you'll notice it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and R. So this is a 5-speed. It's got a T5Z in it, which was out of the 93 Mustang, and it is slightly upgraded from the regular T5. See, man, it's really not that bad. This is a great family car. It gets good gas mileage too. Let me show you the trunk. You can see it's in nice shape, man. I looked at a bunch of Mustangs, and this was an area. The frame rails run under here, and these were rotted out. These quarter panels that come through on the outside here, almost everyone I looked at had rot that you could actually poke your fingers through, or you could already see through it. Like a lot of them. That's just a really common area. And as you can see, this one's really nice. This stuff here is like this rubber stuff. I think it's called splatter coating. And I'm pretty sure they did that from the factory. You know, that is probably done by somebody else after the factory, but it's like the factory. And then they coated the inside with paint, which I'm happy about. And then they put down this like felt trunk liner stuff. It's pretty nice. The gas tank is right under here. If you look at this tube here, this is actually where you fill the gas. It's pretty trick. I've only filled it up one time so far. It's actually quite a pain in the ass because of the way that it's angled. It was like you had to go nice and slow with the fuel, and it was just a pain in the ass. But you know, what are you going to do? I didn't buy this car for convenience. Over here, you can see we're going to start to see the things that I don't like. But this is all stuff we can fix. You know, you can see the wire job is it's like incomplete. I don't want to say it's half-assed because I don't think this car was finished. I'm picking up where somebody left off, but all this stuff could be tidied up and buttoned up really nice. And you can see there are 2 amplifiers back here, also just kind of wired. Not the way I'd like. You know, I want to clean that up. There's a Pile one, which I think Pile is kind of on the more economy side. And then over here, there's a Kenwood one. Both of those speakers in the back are Pioneer. So it's like a mix of good and, not so great stuff. If you guys are into audio, please let me know. I got to figure all this stuff out. The battery was put in the trunk, which is a nice little update. And then here, this says sub. So either somebody had a sub in here at some point in time, or they were preparing to put a sub in. I will probably be putting a custom sub box either in this side or in this side, not because we're going to be like blowing the neighborhood away with music, but because, like I said, cruising in this car and listening to music is what's going to be an absolute blast. Some of the other things I noticed as I started looking over the car are that the body lines
are not quite lined up properly. If you look at this headlight bezel, you can see the gap here is not right. You know, the hood gap is nice, but if you come down here, there's a nice gap here. And if you look over the side, it is overhanging just slightly. All stuff that we can fix. But like I said, it's just like it's not finished. It's the same thing on this side. The gap is a little bit too wide here. And you can see right here a little bit of a run in the paint. That's stuff that can be wet sanded out. Hanging over on the edge here. And just going down the car, you can see the gaps. They're not perfect. I also discovered that this mirror is not mounted in the right location. These are new doors from what I understand. And I guess they had to drill for these mirrors. You can't open up these little triangle windows. They hit. And it's almost a non-functional mirror because where it's placed, it's like worthless, man. The other one is a little bit further back, but it's one of those things like you would never notice just looking at the car, but it's something it's gotta be fixed. I'll give you guys a quick look under the car too. I was lucky enough to have this thing up on the lift, so I got a good look at it, but it's really nice and clean under here. There's barely any rust. Really, really looks good. Up front, if you look behind these Craigers, you can see some disc brakes hiding behind there. They're not exactly state-of-the-art compared to today's technology, but they're certainly better than drum brakes. Those are from a 1971 Mustang, if I'm not mistaken. Now in the back, unfortunately, we've still got the drums, but at least the front, where 70% of the stopping power is done, will be at least a little bit better off. Now we're gonna take this thing for a ride in just a second. But before we do that, if you don't know what a Mustang is, you gotta know the history of these things, because it's not just any car.
How long since you've had real fun?
Oh, a long time, Doc.
How do you feel about a real fun car with bucket seats, sporty styling, and low price?
I like 'em. I like 'em.
You'd better take the Mustang pledge.
Okay, I will. I pledge to get away from my problems with Mustang. I will satisfy my split personality by using the select shift in automatic and manual. Mustang is the original and lowest price sports car with bucket seats. Mustang, you've done it. You've done it.
Done what?
I've taken the Mustang pledge, and I'm cured.
That's right, guys. The Mustang has been around since 1964 and hasn't had any brakes in production since. The original price of the Mustang was $2,368, a price that a lot of American families could afford. That would be about $25,000 in today's money. Although all Mustangs were coded as 1965 models, there were slight differences in the early 1964s, earning them the name the 1964 and a half Mustang. It's said that the Mustang was inspired by the World War II P-51 Mustang fighter plane. And although this is controversial, it's definitely fitting. Just about anywhere in the world, the Mustang is recognized not just by name, but by its distinct features, such as the long front hood and short deck lid, paired with its distinct styling and aggressive body lines. In 1964, when it debuted, Ford expected that they would sell less than 100,000 units, which was nearly quadrupled in the first year, and in less than 2 years, there were more than 1 million Mustangs on the road. It was so popular that other manufacturers decided to follow suit, and it inspired the muscle car generation, bringing in cars like the Camaro, Firebird, Challenger, and Chevelle. Over the years, the Mustang has undergone several changes, but through its entire production, it's remained at its core a muscle car. Front engine, rear-wheel drive, and often manual transmission. With the roar of its V8, there's really not much more that can scream American muscle. And because of all this, the Mustang has been placed in history as one of the most iconic cars of all time. All right, guys, we gotta take this thing for a ride, man. This thing is an absolute blast. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. For any of my neighbors that don't know that I make a living on YouTube, they're probably going to think I'm crazy because I'm wearing my full face helmet. This isn't exactly a race car, but you know what, man? It's 2024. There's people wearing weird stuff in public all over the place. I'm hoping that this super view from the GoPro can get a real aspect of what it's like to drive this thing. For lack of a better term, I would say it's like special. It's rickety, it's rocky, you feel every bump in the steering wheel. It's just really, you feel special when you drive it, man. It's really cool. This thing is like a piece of history. It's just so cool having the old school shifter here and everything. It's raw, man. It's awesome. So let's fire this bad boy up. It does have some weird issue with the engine where every morning when I fire it up, the idle will surge
and then it'll stall out. And unless you're there to give it a little bit of stab here and there, it takes about a minute of doing that, and then finally the idle will even out and it'll run like it's doing right now. And it only seems to do that for the first start of the day. Now, these seat belts are kind of a joke, and it's like, do we even put this on? But we'll do it. We'll put that on. It's just across the waist there. They don't have like the ones up top or anything like that. I'm telling you, man, it really gives you like a feeling of freedom. It almost feels illegal when you're riding this thing. It's pretty cool. Get the parking brake here. And aside from the little idle surge issue, we've also got the clutch is just really, really weird. It's really sensitive. The gas pedal is very sensitive. It's just really touchy and a little bit difficult to drive. And of course, we don't have power steering either. So when you're not going anywhere, like if you're in a parking lot or something, it's really difficult to steer. But again, man, it is just a raw feeling. It is really, you guys got to experience it. Man, does that sound good? It just doesn't get old, dude. Oh man, does that sound good? This thing is just like living free, man. Putting your arm out the window and cruising. Once I have the stereo working, man, get a little bit of music going, this thing is going to be absolutely a blast to drive. It's such an experience. I've already had like all my family in here, a couple friends, I took them for a drive, and it's just, it's really an experience, man. If you've never driven a classic car, you gotta like find one, a buddy that has one or something, or go get one yourself, man. They're very, very cool. Like if you're an auto enthusiast or you like any kind of go fast things or power sports, because I mean this isn't really that fast, but it's got the sound and the feel. If you have an appreciation for that kind of thing, you gotta try one out. Man, it just sounds so good. It's really cool when you're riding in town, and it's like if you look around, everybody on the side of the street, usually all eyes are on you, man. It's a really, it can be a little bit of a weird feeling, but it's cool to just see how much this car is appreciated. And the short time that I've owned it now, there's a few places that I've taken it, and it's unbelievable the amount of attention that it attracts. And so many people come over and they ask questions about the car. It seems like almost anybody out there has some sort of connection to a Mustang, whether they had a friend that had one, their dad had one, or their uncle had one, or somebody that they know usually had a Mustang, and in some way, shape, or form, they were like, oh man, it was a beautiful car and I love that car. It's really neat to see how many, it brings people together. You can see the steering wheel is not centered. We definitely need to do an alignment job, and you really can't let go of the wheel. It starts it like shimmies and it starts to pull to the left like really quickly. So that definitely needs to be adjusted. It's got a rack and pinion system on it. It's really, really difficult to steer. From what I understand, the stock steering system on a Mustang with manual steering, no power steering, is 4 full turns from a full left to right turn, and this rack and pinion is 2.5 turns. So it's like a higher gear ratio, so it makes it harder to turn the wheel. You definitely notice it, and for that reason, definitely the electronic power steering assist is what I'm thinking of getting, which should complement that rack and pinion system pretty nicely. It actually cruises pretty nice when you drop it in 5th and you're going between 40 and 50. You can hear like the drone goes away, and you can kind of cruise and enjoy everything. You can actually take those triangle windows down. I forgot. Put those down. Make sure we're getting full flowing sound in this car, because that's really what this is all about. have too many roads around here to do this, but I think we can get away with it. You can see there's a couple burnout marks here. I've been saving to do this with you guys because I don't know what the hell is going to happen here. From what I understand, the rear end is pretty solid on this thing. It's got 380 gears in it, and I just hope it doesn't explode or we don't leave the transmission on the side of the road here. All right, it's now or never, man. Let's do this. Oof, man, this thing hops like a mofo. I had to let off the gas there, man. It was hopping all over the place. I don't know if we have to put airbags in this thing or what. But that has got to be remedied. Holy crap. Still really fun though. Nobody ran over our camera. Good, good, good. Oh wow, I had the e-brake on that whole time. I'm an idiot. I took this road on purpose because it's fun. This guy's driving like a slowpoke. Man, once you get like over 60, you really start to feel the rattles and like imbalances in this car. There's no doubt this thing needs work. It may even simply need the wheels to be balanced. If you've ever ridden a car with unbalanced wheels, it can totally make things crazy. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming for a ride with me, man. Let's take this thing back to the house. I'm just gonna take that wheel hop issue and put it right on the list of things that need to be fixed on this Mustang, because burnouts are an essential part of owning a muscle car. Realistically though, this thing doesn't really make that much power. I would say it's got Why measure horsepower numbers when you can measure ass? Well, that's exactly what we'll be doing today. Wait a second. Wrong video. Can you believe that somebody actually had the audacity to name a chassis dyno after the Mustang? We all know that's obviously going to be inaccurate. But you know what is accurate? The ass dyno. Let's have a look. That's right, guys. For accuracy beyond belief, literally, we're going to do the ass dyno. Anyways, we got a traditional, basically a setup here. I think 300 horsepower is pretty much, we're pushing it with this car. And we're only going out to 6,000 RPMs, man. This thing does not like to rev out. Now, I really don't think this car makes that much horsepower. It's not gonna blow your balls off, but it does feel, I mean, it's kind of sporty. I would say, like down low, it doesn't really have too much. And then as you get up to maybe 2,000, 3,000 RPMs, that's probably where most of the horsepower comes on. It does have it's got a decent amount of torque. It's got a little bit of S right there in the middle. And then it kind of tapers off, man. Like it has almost no top end. And I think it might be, I don't know, some kind of like intake issue. It just is not pulling air in. It feels like it's got nothing on top, man. really not too good. And so yeah, I would say we'd be, I'm gonna guess we're someplace in between 200 to 250 horsepower. It's nothing too crazy. If you come over here, I've actually got a traditional dyno. This is a dyno jet, not a Mustang dyno. We all know those are incredibly inaccurate. Anyways, you can see this is like a stock 93 Mustang with a 5.0. The engine in that 67 is from a 93 Mustang, so I thought this was a good reference. Anyways, the numbers that it put down, this is the horsepower right here, and it literally, you can see it's 167.5. That's pretty pitiful. But the torque is crazy. I mean, nobody really cares about torque, right? It's all about horsepower. But the torque is pretty damn good, like 264.3. That's really good, and this was an older engine too, so it was a little bit tired probably. That's really not bad. So as you can see, almost identical to our car. I think we're just gonna have to do some modifications to get that horsepower number up. It's not very good. But horsepower numbers don't really matter when you're driving a Mustang, because you'll just feel so cool when you're driving it that you might even be inclined to do a burnout and drive into a crowd. And that is your official ass time. Now, what kind of video would this be if we didn't at least fix a few things on this car? The goal is to start enjoying this thing immediately, and I'd really like to get a few things done so that I don't have to worry when driving it. Now, one of the things I'm worried about is this little leak here. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that. It's kind of dark in there, but there's a puddle of antifreeze, and every once in a while you'll get a drip on the ground. It's leaking, I believe, from this little gasket in here where the thermostat sits. The other thing I want to do is take off this intake and bring it into a safe area, so just in case we get caught in rain or something, we don't have to worry about soaking the air filter. And then I've also got this Kenwood head unit. It just came in the mail. I'd like to swap this in so that I can start enjoying my music while I cruise. All right, let's get the antifreeze out of here. Kind of messy where that outlet is located.
There you go, put it right on top of it. Yeah, these hoses were put on recently, so they're all new hoses. That's great.
Yeah, you can see in there that puddle. I'm pretty sure it's leaking from the bottom of the thermostat housing.
Yeah, well, you're fixing it. Ain't no big deal. We'll take the belt off, get that out of the way, and then if we don't have enough room, we'll have to take this bracket. All bolts are loose, so I think you can get in there now.
Yeah, I think so.
There you go. Oh, man. Let that pulley out of there. It's a piece of cake. Well, now you gotta clean it.
So my dad and I split up the work. I cleaned up the side on the intake manifold attached to the engine using a razor blade and some contact cleaner. Meanwhile, my pop used the surfacing stone to make the mating surface of the thermostat housing nice and flat. We got this all clean and it's pretty flat. You can see it's not perfect though. And the thermostat goes in this way. It doesn't really sit as flush as I'd like, and I really don't feel like doing this job twice. So I'm gonna take a little bit of Yamabond 6B, just a gasket sealer, and just put a thin coat on the housing and on the intake manifold. We just won't have to worry about it then. All right, man, we should be good to go as far as leaks are concerned. I like to let that gasket sealer sit for at least an hour before we turn the engine on. So while that's curing, let's go ahead and take care of our intake. Now, I'm sure some of you may be wondering why the Corvette's still here. Well, that's just good old Harrisburg taking their sweet ass time. It's been literally almost a month now waiting to transfer the title. Just a pain in my ass. Jeez. Man, thank God I found this looking through the car, or we'd have been screwed. There's our disc brake. It doesn't look bad. This will probably be a project, cleaning these up, and maybe we'll paint that caliper and just kind of make it look nice. We've got, it looks like Gabriel Red Ryder gas. I don't know if that's just like a generic or if that's any good, but everything, I just was shaking on it and everything feels pretty tight.
Doesn't look too bad under here. There is our filter. Of course, the freaking band clamp is facing with the screw at the top. So that's gonna be a pain in the ass. They really must have put this on here like when the fender was removed or something, because it's gonna be really, really difficult to get this off. I don't even know if that's spinning. Gotcha, bitch. I think. Come on, you bastard. Why is this so stuck? This is weird. This is like ridiculous. What the fuck? There's a screw in this. I can feel it up top. Why? You can see this thing is like barely hanging on. If you reach around top and feel though, there's a screw facing downward. That's like ridiculous, because if you had to change this filter, what are you supposed to take the whole fender off? This is a horrible system. Let's see if we can get a look here. Capture. It certainly is a bolt. You guys can see there, right there, there's a freaking bolt going through the band clamp. This goes down in history as the worst air filter change of all time. Oh. Wow. While we're getting the rest of that tube off, I'm gonna get some filter cleaner on this. This filter looks like it's pretty dirty. Now it looks like in here, if we just loosen this up, should be able to reach through the underside and get that elbow out. Yep, there it is. This looks like a custom made piece. It's actually pretty nice. Oh. Jeez, dude, this is hack. Look at this. This actually looks like sound deadening mat was wrapped around here. Interesting. This filter cleaned up pretty nice. Let's blow some compressed air in here. Ain't nobody got time for shoes. We're gonna throw this thing on the boot dryer. This thing does a pretty good job of drying out air filters quickly. And I guess now we can put this wheel back on, and I decided to flip this thing around and see if I could find a manufacturer, and I was pleasantly surprised. It looks like right here, it says Cregger Classic Wheel, Unique Wheel Incorporated. So these are genuine Creggers. I did not realize they made them in 16 inches. So that is good news. Definitely rather have the genuine Creggers than some knockoffs. I'm just gonna take this mass airflow sensor off of here so that we can make sure it's clean. I can see like little specks of dirt on the little screen in there. So that could be what that little idle surging issue is when I start this thing up in the morning every day. Wow, look at this thing. Those two black pieces were stuck to the screen. And this is a pretty restrictive portion of our intake. This was the size of the intake tube, and then look how tight that gets in there. And then it gets wider back here, but that's purposeless. We can only get as much flow as our smallest point. So this is definitely a choke point. I mean, the car runs the way that it is, but you can feel like the top end kind of suffers. And I bet you this plays a big role in that. Pop off this mass airflow sensor. That is what we need to clean right there. They make special cleaner for mass airflow sensors, but I don't have any on hand. So I'm gonna use a little bit of contact cleaner. Just give it a couple shots. And that should clean up the sensor. And I also want to clean up that screen and just the body itself. Now I'm going to do my best to get this goop off of here, whatever this stuff is. And I'm not sure what was all over this thing, but I got it cleaned off for the most part. We're going to be replacing this entire system eventually, so I'm not too worried about making it ultra clean. Otherwise, I think I'd send this thing out and get it vapor blasted. I also put a little bit of dielectric grease where our connector goes. For now, I just want to get this back together. Okay. Now this isn't terrible, but I don't like the idea of this thing bobbling around here in the engine bay, especially once we put the weight of the filter on the front. So this is kind of jank. We're definitely entering the jank zone. But again, this whole system is going to be replaced eventually. I'm just going to throw some zip ties on here just to give it a little bit of support. And zip ties, I mean, this is basically a permanent fix. And that's at least gonna give it a little bit of support. Then hopefully our filter fits on here. Oh, dude, money, that is perfect. All right, man, just threw a fresh coat of oil on this filter, and we're about ready to fire this thing up. It almost sounds like an exhaust leak or something. You hear it go. It doesn't look like this is leaking, at least. I hear that too, though. I don't know what the hell that is.
Ain't no more oil in there.
Yeah, there is. The whole stick is wet. But it looks dirty as shit.
That whole dipstick thing came up. That's loose. It's over here, the bolt missing. See it? There's a bolt hole down there. That's what it sounds like to me. A valve tapping.
Well, it sounds like it's got a valve tap or something, and the dipstick also is not attached to the engine. It just pulled right out. So just more things that we have to fix, but for now, I'm okay. I think when the engine warms up, that tap kind of goes away, so I'm not too worried about it, but definitely something that I want to address. And I know that this is not optimal because, you know, the whole cold air intake thing, I think that's what they were going for with this. You know, with the engine bay, it's going to be hot and stuff, but it's definitely going to be more safe than it was in terms of the elements. All right, let's get this new radio in here. I want to start enjoying some Jimi Hendrix. Disconnect our negative battery terminal here. Freaking battery cable was about to fall off. Now we'll pull this old JVC head unit out. Looks like there's 4 Phillips head screws to take out the bezel. I'm pretty sure this was already modified to fit the JVC one in here. So with hope, this will be an easy swap. Of course, they didn't leave slack in the wires. Okay. So here's what we've got going on back here. Kind of a hodgepodge, but it's not the worst wiring I've ever seen. These are all the air conditioning ducts. I can see that these vents here are not hooked up. I don't know if you guys will be able to see up in there, but there's no vent going to these. I actually got that in a box of extra parts. Wasn't sure if it was a duplicate or, well, we now know it's just not hooked up. This wire right here looks like it may be the same one for the new head unit, so we may not have to rewire this. It'd be nicer if it was a little bit longer. I could rewire that, but again, my goal is to just make the car enjoyable right now, and then we'll probably go back in and refinish all this stuff. In fact, this whole dash will probably come out at some point in time for rewiring. Then they have the speakers wires over here. It's kind of nice. They labeled them. So I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit more slack out of these speaker wires. That'll make putting the new unit in a lot easier. And let's take a look at the new unit. Kenwood Exelon. I never thought I'd be buying another head unit for the rest of my life, really. These things are pretty dated. I'm surprised that they still make them. This is supposed to be like one of the best ones that they have nowadays. Here is the connector for the back. Looks like a microphone. You can set up some Bluetooth calling. I don't know if you'd be able to hear it in this car, but you know, still a nice feature. And then of course, the head unit. Wow, it's way lighter than the JVC one. It looks like it's almost like a half DIN also, which means like they call them like single DIN and double DIN stereos. This is pretty compact and it's very, very lightweight. So we're actually, this could be considered a performance mod. Pretty nice. Unfortunately, the style of connector is a little bit different, so I will have to cut the connector off that was on this JVC, and we'll just switch it over to the Kenwood one. That shouldn't be too difficult, but you guys can see the size difference here. It's literally half the size of the old radio. Basically got these little metal tabs around the outside of the bezel. You can see they bend right back in there. See if I can get this old one off without breaking anything, and then we'll just swap this new one in there. Okay. Man, this is pretty hefty. I don't know if this is made of steel. This new one should just snap right in place. I know you're all dying to know. We have to see how much weight we're saving with the radio. The JVC is 2 3/4, 2.48, and the brand new Kenwood, 1.268. So it's like half the weight. Definitely, that should help with the wheel spin issue. All right, now I've just got to get in here and do some wiring And then with the grace of God, the new radio will just pop right into place. All right, my pop found a couple jumper wires just to extend those RCA cables. The existing ones are buried under the carpet. This, again, I'm gonna have to probably pull the entire interior out, the dash and whatnot, and rewire this whole thing. But just to get us going in business here, the jumpers will work. I also noticed that I can reach around back here. I think we can fix this gauge if I can twist it. There we go. All right, that was bothering me. Now it's good. This is actually a pretty nice head unit. It has an extra USB, so you have one USB on the face and one extra one, and I'll probably run this someplace nice if I put a console or something. For now, I'm just gonna see if we can get it in the glove box. There's actually a little hole in the side, and that'll be a nice little convenient feature. Just kind of tuck it away in there for now. Okay, hook our battery back up. Let's see if it turns on. There's a red light that came on. Oh, it's on. There it goes. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's just really bright in here. Let's hook up the Bluetooth and see if our speakers work. Pairing okay. I think we're connected. Oh, there it is playing through the speakers. All right. It works. I probably can't play too much of this because we're gonna get a copyright strike, but we should be good to go. We can also change the color of this thing. I'm gonna go to orange red. That should match the gauges up here pretty nicely. And there is one last thing I wanna do, and that's install this brand new Hurst shift ball. It's got 1 through 5 on there, and it's got Hurst on the side. This is straight from the Hurst factory. I'm actually pretty excited about this. This is some old school stuff right here, man, and it's gonna give it the best look that we can give it, in my opinion. I think you really can't beat that. That is awesome. Give it just a little bit of an angle there so it faces the driver. All right, man, sweet. If you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed the Mustang, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see me do with this thing. My goal is to make a nice cruiser, and I don't want it to be all bark and no bite because it's not that fast, really. It would be nice if it has at least a little bit of bite. If we can get a little bit more horsepower out of this thing, fix the audio system, we'll put a new head unit in there, and just fix all the little things that it needs. I'm thinking about putting the original Mustang trim all back on this car, and I might even switch out the wheels with some Magnum 500s and just make this thing a really nice classic cruiser. But I'm always open to suggestions. If you guys have any power mods or anything that you think are absolutely necessary, please let me know in the comment section below. I love all you guys. I need to get to building the KTM 350. That series is about to be wrapped up as well. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.